Namaste. My name is Ram Goswami. Welcome to my podcast. In this podcast, I will narrate 50 quotes of Dravidian Aaiyyanist knowledge that have been translated into English. Many of you will know these quotes in their original Dravidian Aaiyani, the pure language of the Dravidian Aaiyyanist. Please note, my pronunciations of Sanskrit words is from a Dravidian Aaiyyanist standpoint. So, for example, we say Jnana Yoga instead of Jnana Yoga, or Vaita instead of Dvaita. This is strictly a Dravidian Aaiyyanist way of saying things and should not detract from the message. So let us begin. Quote 1. It is more important to be the sun than to exist without it. This quote is attributed to Guru Dattatreya, who existed in 1543 BC to 1462 BC, according to Dravidian tradition. This quote stresses the importance of the Aaiyyanist Hindu yogic practice of transformation, i.e., transforming the inner being into a state of superconsciousness that can transcend itself and humanity. It is more important to become the living embodiment of Godhead than to live in a world created from your own mindset, where there is no supreme consciousness and everything is part of the material plane. Quote 2. As you achieve pure silence of being, so shall you then hear the faint splash of rain on the mountain top. This quote is attributed to Guru Trivedi, who existed in 1490 BC, according to Dravidian tradition. This quote from Guru Trivedi stresses the importance of following the Hindu practice of Kamak meditation, a Dravidian Aaiyyanist variation of Rama Yoga, to achieve a state of total silence of the mind. When you achieve this state, you will be able to finally begin to hear the question that Brahman is asking. It is not the answer that is important, but the question. Quote 3. Trust in Brahman's universal map, for you and we are part of it, even if we do not know the destination. This is a quote from Guru Dravidian, 1433 BC, and was a contemporary of Guru Upadhyaya. This is a famous quote from the transgendered Hijra Guru Dravidian. It espouses the virtues of having faith in the universal path that we and others are part of. We are all one, so the path we are on is part of a greater whole. We may not see the destination, but have faith that the journey will lead you somewhere, a place that might surprise you if you allow it to. Quote 4. Meditation on Brahman is the most important thought you will create. This is a quote from Guru Upadhyaya, who existed in 1435 BC, according to the Dravidian Aaiyyanist tradition. This is a quote from one of the most famous Dravidian Hindu Aaiyyanist sages of the 14th century BC. The Guru stresses the importance of pure yogic meditation on the universal creator Brahman, and to understand the creative process of the mind is just as important as the creation of this universe and the multitude of universes around it. Quote 5. When you think, when you dream, when you imagine, you will become that which your mind perceives. The mind is all-powerful, but I will show you how to train it to become supreme. This is a quote from Guru Kanyakubja, who existed in 1373 BC. Guru Kanyakubja was one of the founders and experts in Aaiyyanist mind-yogic techniques, especially that of the Sunya school. His teachings to this day have aided and transformed the lives of many Aaiyyanist Hindus and non-Hindus. This quote tells us how the world perceived by our mind is what we will become. But we can liberate ourselves from this by transforming the mind via Aaiyyanist yogic meditation, so that we change the mind's perceived world and our inner self simultaneously. Quote 6. The truth does not come from dogma, religion, or ritual. It begins from Atman. This is a quote from Guru Sarasvata, who existed in 1320 BC. This quote engages us in the never-ending battle between organized religion and the freedom of the individual soul. This battle has been going on since the dawn of time, and only the spiritually adept can master the truth of the soul against the external influences of the state. Quote 7. The yogic knows that his mind must change, not the world. Once the spirit has been freed, changing the world will be meaningless. This is a quote from Guru Gauda, who existed in 1266 BC. This stanza tells us that you need to change yourself before you can try to change the world. And if you did change yourself, the outer physical state of the world would become irrelevant, as you would have freed yourself from this material plane of existence. Quote 8. Reading the Aaiyyanist scriptures gives you knowledge. Writing about the scriptures gives you understanding. If you want to master the scriptures, take a disciple and teach them to read first, write next, and then finally teach yourself. This is a quote from Guru Mahavajrayan, who existed in 1193 BC, according to the Dravidian Aaiyyanist tradition. This quote from the correspondence of the indigenous Guru Mahavajrayan details the path of the Aaiyyanist master. The path is circular, from student to master, who then takes on students, who then teach the master. Aayyanism is a vocational practice, so the discourse back and forth between master and student and master lends itself to a fuller understanding of this universe we exist in, and the many universes we do not inhabit. There is no ego in Aayyanism or hierarchy. The master treats the student as equal and vice versa. Quote 9. The secret to fully living is to have no fear of tomorrow. Brahman was here yesterday, now and tomorrow, and your soul Atman also exists in all timelines. How can you fear what is your destiny? This is a quote from Guru Viti Telugu, who existed in 1134 BC. This quote essentially tells us the great spiritual truth from old traditions, i.e., to exist in the now and not worry about the perceived past or imagined future. In Aayyanism, our soul exists beyond time, so there is nothing to worry about in the past or future, as this is how we are supposed to exist in this realm. We are all part of the universal Om, so our path is part of the greater picture of what must happen. Do not fight it. Quote 10. Desire and wish for nothing, then everything you get will be a blessing from Brahman. This is a quote from Guru Karnataka, who existed in 1066 BC to 970 BC. The true Aaiyyanist Hindu does not wish for any material or physical goods or pleasures. They are fully immersed in the spiritual domain. Having said that, if you do wish for nothing, even the slightest gift or kind word will be as bountiful as the richest treasure. Quote 11. Exist in the plane of reality, but do not allow it to pollute you. You must be the stone and the cleansing stream. This is a quote from Guru Sarasvata, who existed in 1000 BC to 911 BC. This quote simply states the fact that the Hindu Aaiyyanist exists in the physical world with all its suffering and imperfections, but must not allow those imperfections to pollute the soul, which is called the Atman, or allow it to cause despair. The Hindu Aaiyyanist Atman soul is solid like a stone and unbending, but it also has the power to clean the whole universe if it wished to. The Atman is the cleansing stream that can dispel all negativity and spiritual pollution, as it is already one with Brahman. Quote 12. A truly spiritual being can never feel despair, even if they are locked in the deepest dungeon and hidden from the light. The yogic mind can travel to places seen and unseen. This is a quote from Guru Prajapati, who existed in 929 BC. Guru Prajapati tells the Hindu yogic adept that despair is a state of being and is irrelevant to the physical being of the person. If you are homeless, starving, incarcerated, or dying in hospital, the Aaiyyanist yogic techniques can liberate the mind and allow you to travel to those places that are hidden to the non-yogic but are so very close. By stilling the mind, one can then train it to see the doorways to other planes of existence, both positive and negative, which are called lokas and talas. The Aaiyyanist yogic can then use these doorways to travel to other planes and interact and exist in those ones. The physical body may be trapped, but the mind has the ability to free itself from the shackles of this universe. Quote 13. Aayyanism, Vaita and Advaita are one. How can you understand the universe if you do not comprehend the sum of the whole? Without knowing the whole, you can never truly become whole. This is a quote from Guru Saptrishi, who existed in 1877 BC, according to Dravidian Aaiyyanist tradition. This stanza tells us, as Jnana Yoga masters, we must understand all the schools of Hindu thought in order to understand our own liberational experience. If we cannot follow the basic concepts of reality, how can we transcend reality and become whole with Brahman? Quote 14. To reach the new land, one must cross the sea. If you wish to remain safe, then remain in your home as a child. This is a quote from Guru Prajapati, according to Dravidian Aaiyyanist tradition. This quote from Guru Prajapati tells us that in order for us to find new ideas and knowledge, we must strive for it and seek the unknown and perhaps the dangerous. If we want to lead a sedentary life, then we should stay as we are, but we will never grow as a person. Quote 15. The true Aaiyyanist Hindu puts into practice what they have learned. If you just study and read but do not act, then you have learned nothing. This is a quote from Guru Karnataka. This quote of wisdom states that we must put into practice what we have learned from the ancient scriptures of Aaiyyanist thought, Vedic knowledge and yogic practice. There is no point learning something if you do not put your knowledge into practice. The actions of the Hindu Aaiyyanist resonates with the universal Om, and as such defines you. This is the end of my podcast. Thank you for listening. You can hear more quotes of wisdom in my next podcast. Goodbye.